Blockbuster trades. These are the moments that shake the NBA to its core, the kind of deals that reshape the league in ways we never saw coming. Think about things like Shaq to the Heat, Kareem to the Lakers, or even Kevin Garnett to Boston. Every time it happens, we sit back and ask, did we just witness history? But this one is different, because Luka Doncic just got traded to the Lakers. And I'm telling you right now, when you break down the numbers, this is the biggest trade of all time. Not just another blockbuster, not just another superstar swapping teams, it's something we've never seen before. And by the end of this video, I guarantee you'll see why. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's break this thing down. Because every time a star player gets traded, people throw around the word blockbuster. But what actually makes a trade worthy of such a title? Is it just about the names involved? Sure, that's part of it. But if that were the case, every all-star trade would be considered historic, and we know that's not true. A real blockbuster trade isn't just about the headlines, it fundamentally shifts the league. What really separates a franchise-altering trade from just another big move comes down to three things. Number one, how much talent is actually being exchanged? Not every superstar trade is equal. Some teams get pennies on the dollar, while others pull off a once-in-a-generation heist. Win shares help us quantify exactly how much on-court impact is being traded. Number two is the accolades. A trade looks big in the moment, but what happens when we look back on it years later? Are we talking about MVPs, champions, players who defined an era, or just good players with hype? And lastly, how much does the trade actually change the league? Did this trade immediately swing the championship odds overnight? Are we about to see a new dynasty form because of it? Now, when we put this Luka AD trade under that microscope, what we find is staggering. Because when you add it all up, this isn't just another big trade. It might be the biggest blockbuster the NBA has ever seen. And I'm telling you right now, what I found out is gonna shock almost all of you. Let's start this off with win shares. This is one of the best ways to measure how valuable a player actually is, because it tells us exactly how many wins they've been responsible for during their careers. And in this trade, we're looking at some of the highest numbers ever exchanged. The two biggest players in this deal, well, it's obviously Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis. Now, I did the digging and found out Luka is sitting at 60 career win shares while AD is doubling that with 120. That means we just saw 180 combined win shares traded. Now, you might be thinking, that's cool, but what does this mean? And to that I say, have some patience because I'm getting there. When you compare that number of 180 to past blockbuster trades, it puts this move in a league of its own. When the Lakers traded for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1975, his win shares were around 150. And when Shaq got traded to the Heat in 2004, he had about 120. Those were two of the biggest trades in NBA history, but this one, well, it tops them both. And that's just looking at production. Let's go even deeper with All-NBA and All-Star appearances. These two players combined for 9 first-team All-NBA selections and 15 All-Star games. That means this isn't just a big trade, it's one of the most talent-heavy transactions ever made. But even all of that pales in comparison to my next point, because no stat tells you how big a trade is quite like Vegas. If you want to know how real a trade actually is, don't go look at Twitter, look at the pros. Because the people who literally do this for a living, the ones who set the betting odds, told us exactly how much this trade changed the NBA. Because the second this thing went down, well, the sportsbooks lost their minds. Before the trade, the Lakers' championship odds were 40-1, and after landing Luka, they jumped to 21-1. That's one of the biggest midseason odd jumps we've ever seen. Meanwhile, the Mavericks, well, their odds fell off a cliff. They went from 18-1 to 40-1. So what does this tell us? That this move just shook the NBA to its freaking core. And yet, there's still one more thing. Something that defines a true blockbuster trade that I haven't even mentioned yet because at this point, there's just no way to tell. The way we truly measure these kinds of trades isn't just by names involved or the championship odds right now. It's about the ripple effect that lasts for years. Things like, does this trade extend LeBron's championship window? Does Luka become the face of the Lakers, carrying this franchise into a new dynasty? Or did the Mavericks just make the worst decision in franchise history? Because here's the thing, teams don't just trade away a 25-year-old generational superstar, it almost never happens. But when it does, the impacts last forever. If Luka wins multiple championships in LA, this will go down as one of the most lopsided trades in NBA history. If the Mavericks don't win a ring with Anthony Davis, this move could haunt them for decades. But no matter how this thing plays out, one thing is clear, this trade just changed the NBA forever, and we might not fully understand its impact for years to come.